Honeyville Foods, Nut and Fancy project. We're going to show you how to make this awesome meal in a jar. If you watched last year in TMP, we met with this fine lady, Lisa B.
Welcome back.
And we talked about this dish, and I promised the viewers we would show them how to make it.
Great.
It's only taken us a year to hook up, right?
Well, we had to perfect it. We wanted to make sure it was just what you wanted.
It was already perfected, audience. Trust me, this is outstanding. Tell the viewers, if they've never seen any other videos, what we're talking about. So meal in a jar, remind them real quick, what is it?
A meal in a jar, a lot of us know the prepackaged meals that come, but they are so high in sodium, high in sulfate as preservatives, different things. When you want to be able to control both the sodium, the fat content, the flavor, the different things, this is a great way to have meals that you already know. So we already made the ham and cheese quiche. We just converted it over to using freeze-dried, dehydrated items so that we could have that available. We like our Sunday mornings to be kind of calm and quiet, and so this is one of our favorites that we use often. A couple of years ago, I had a nephew that came to live with us, and on a Sunday morning, he came walking up, and he saw this sitting on the counter. And he thought that that looked kind of strange, and I said, give me a minute, let me put that in the oven, and you will
this is a quiche before being cooked. This exact freeze-dried meal, which by the way can store for 5 to 7 years on your shelf. That's the advantage of this system. It's amazing. You're putting it together.
Sorry.
It's awesome.
So
it's delicious.
5 to 7 years that we have that with the flavor that we know, the things, and then the variables that you can go with that. So my nephew came to live with us. The first Sunday he came up, and I had that soaking, and he looked at it and didn't think it looked too exciting.
He goes, that's nasty, Lisa.
Freeze-dried, and well, he called it crap.
Lisa.
He called it crap, is what he did. So I said, give me a minute. We put it in the oven, and when it came out, he ended up eating about half of that 9-inch quiche. The next Sunday he came up and he said, can we make that again? I said, sure. We had yellow squash coming out of the garden. So we chopped up some fresh to go in with that. I had a pie crust, so we made it into a quiche with a crust that week. And then we, right at the end, I put a little pepper jack cheese on the top for it to bubble at the end, just to ramp up the flavor a little bit more. The next Sunday he came up and said, can you make that again? I said, no. And he got a panicked look on his face, and I said, but you can. I said, run downstairs, get one of the jars, 2.5 cups of water, 10 minutes to soak, and then you put it in the oven. That's how variable it is, whether he wanted to add something to it or not. That's the great part of this. It has the components that is basic to itself, that we like the flavor. If we wanted to add something, we can. If we don't have to. So, a lot of times mine are in the glass jars. We've talked in a previous video of the ways that you can store, the different things that you can do with that. This is in a glass jar. Today we're going to do it in a peat. And we talked about the benefits of a peat. You can see that that's just about the same. It's a little bit wider. You need to make sure you have the gasket metal lid. That's the gasket that will create the seal.
And this sucker's tough. It'll
and
fall
so that
off and
could
won't
drop. Yep.
Crack. Where do you get these, Lisa, real quick, in case viewers want to know?
We get these at Industrial Container. You can just Google it on the internet. They have the round size. They also have the square that we use for some things. We sell those at Honeyville. These are the round ones that you can get.
That's a great size, isn't it?
It's a great size. They also have it in the larger. So if you wanted a half-gallon size, you could do it almost to a full number 10. So let's put this together and the things that we want to do with that. Whenever I'm putting a meal together, I try and put all the spices or the fine particulates down at the bottom because especially if I'm using the food saver, it keeps that from sucking it up to the top. It's not as much a point when we're doing it this way with the oxygen absorber, but it's always good. We call them sand art dinners. And so you can see how pretty it looks. We can see the different components that are there, the things that would break down the fastest. The other option you could do if you wanted to keep your seasoning separate in a little baggie, you could do that in the top. If it gets older, you can take that little baggie out, but hopefully you'll be using it before then.
Just make it the way you make it. That's the way we want to make it.
So that's what we're going to do.
Exactly the Lisa B way.
So, thank you, the Lisa B. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to mimic what's in here. A lot of people seem to think that it's really, really hard. This is one of my favorite seasonings. This is the Wayzata Tuscan blend. If you have an Italian or something other that you want to create, you're welcome to do that. So I'm just going to put in about a half a teaspoon of my seasoning. Whoops. We're just going to throw that down in the bottom of there, and then I'll clean up after myself.
Honeyville has special cleaners that can clean up, I think. You don't
Do
even have to
they?
do it. Yeah. They're like
I want one
with
of those at my
brooms and
house.
stuff.
I keep saying to my family, I need that elk
Thanks
that
to-
goes to my family.
Thanks to Honeyville, by the way, for hosting. This is pretty
Yes,
awesome.
this is a great thing. So next I need my
Seasoning
powdered butter. These are my, powdered butter.
Let me show you the cans real quick. This is the raw ingredients for Lisa B's quiche, and this is her own recipe. And I'm trying to work with Honeyville to get this all pre-packaged so you can make this meal. Stay tuned. I don't know if they'll do it, but we'll try. And the cool thing about that is you would just put everything on the counter, open it up, and start a production process of what Lisa is doing right now. Just putting all the raw ingredients in your meal in a jar, which technically, as Lisa will say, and she's big on this, it's not really a meal. It's more of a dish in a jar. A meal in a jar to Lisa really doesn't exist. She actually puts them in these polyethylene bags, and it has basically 4 courses in it. That's a completely separate, whatever, 5, dessert, vegetable, and she'll use canned tomatoes and canned sauces in that to create a richer meal than this. But what we're going to concentrate on right now is a long-term, storable, for 5 to 7 years, meal in a freaking jar. For lack of a better term, we'll call it meal in a jar.
We'll get into other parts. We'll train you on the other parts. But mostly we want to give you something to start. People seem to be intimidated by the things that they're doing.
Tell them what you just put in. You put in the powdered butter, is that right?
We put in powdered butter, some sour cream.
Okay, powdered sour cream, which is here.
We put in the Ova Crystal eggs. They are phenomenal because egg powder is something that you would incorporate into a baking item. If you're wanting to bake a cake or do different things, the powdered eggs are wonderful. The egg crystals, I would take over most store-bought eggs. I have chickens in my backyard. I would take these over store-bought eggs anytime. Another great thing you can do with that is instead of mixing it up with water, mix it up with apple juice and make the most amazing French toast. It is the best thing to have on hand. So if we're making a quiche, we want that to puff up.
So we want egg crystals, not powdered eggs.
We want to make sure that we're doing the 2 of those.
Okay.
These are one of my favorites. These are the green onions. They are wonderful. I made Korean beef the other night and had these up on top. Nobody knew the difference. So I've got my green onions.
Now, Lisa, real quick, can I post your recipe in the sidebar so they know how to put it together?
We will post it, and then always make it up once or twice, tweak it to how you want, and then you're good to go. Once I've got all my finer particulates in there, then I'm going to create a little bit of a barrier with my ham. So there's my ham. I'm just going to put that into there. I'm going to make sure that everything's ready to go on that one.
How many people is this going to feed, by the way?
This will make about a 9-inch quiche. And
so it'll feed 1 nutnfancy. Or 3 adults. There's Mrs. Nutnfancy, by the way.
Well, if you figure a quarter, that's about 4 people in a quiche.
My wife is so freaking hot. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. Keep going. We're talking about quiche. We're talking about freeze-dried stuff.
I am. I don't know what you are.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to put my peppers on top of that.
Yep.
Okay, then we're going to put zucchini. We want health in there, so I've got my zucchini that we're going to put on.
How did you come up with this recipe? Did you just trial and error until you got it the way you wanted?
You know, well, this is what I tell people all the time. Take something that you already use. I have a friend who had an aunt that did the cabbage rolls, and she wanted to create that. She did use dehydrated cabbage and made it more into a casserole instead of the rolls. The family actually turned out to like it better. So take a dish that you already know. We already made the quiche. We just converted it over to freeze-dried. We're not asking you to eat something that your family doesn't like or doesn't know. That's the whole purpose of this, is you take a recipe that you currently use, modify it. We have all different kinds for things that we use for that. Okay,
so that's the answer. So you just translated it over to a freeze-dried realm.
Yep.
But for these guys, we're just going to have you do Lisa's recipes because I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed. And look at all this stuff, which honestly, don't you think, Miss Nutton, it's kind of overwhelming when you look at it.
It is.
And you go, I don't know what to do. I mean, you buy these number 10 cans.
And I've got it all.
That's right. That's why we're doing these videos, though, is to show you specifically one dish at a time. Buy the stuff, make it, enjoy. Or store it.
That's exactly right. And again,
that's freeze-dried spinach.
This is freeze-dried spinach. Look how pretty that is. That's just
awesome.
The leaves. And so it's better than what you can buy in the store sometimes.
And we talked about that last year, about
how healthier it is.
It's healthier and no waste. So you buy some fresh produce or vegetables, and sometimes it'll go to waste because you don't use it.
The spinach, if it's kept at 39 degrees, it keeps its nutrient value for up to about 9 days. And so if you're buying it from the grocery store and it has an expiration date of about 3 weeks from now,
right,
there's no real nutrition in that. But freeze-dried, because of the way they can take that.
And look how easy this is that she's been doing.
Okay?
She's following her recipe right there.
And then we're just going
And
to
you
take...
can too.
We're going to take our oxygen absorber, create that on the top.
Okay.
Make sure you clean off around the edges so you don't have anything.
Really good seal. We talked about that in the other video.
So we want to make sure we've got that. This has the gasket, and I'm ready to go.
That's it. That's the quiche meal in a jar. It took her all of about, we're talking, but heck, 2-3 minutes
Maybe.
to measure it out.
And when we get going on an assembly line, I can make up 10 or 12 of those in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And
Following
I've got
your
those.
recipe right there.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. Lisa
post
B's
that.
ham and zucchini quiche. And it's going to come out of the oven. We'll give it a taste test. We've already had it. What do you think?
I don't like quiche, but I liked it.
It was excellent,
I
wasn't
usually
it?
don't eat it, but I did like hers. Yeah.
It was excellent.
Thank
we
you.
really, really loved it. And this is what turned me on personally to your meals in the jar, is just the quality of the food that comes out of the oven that you've put together. And there you have it. Meals in a jar, Nut and Fancy project. That's the ham and zucchini quiche. As soon as it comes out of the oven, we'll end with showing you how awesome it is.
Great.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for coming. Happy eating. So there's our 3 different ways.
Yep. Man, that smells good. It smells home cooked.
It's time to eat.
Lisa B's quiche from a jar.
From a jar.
All right, let's test it.
Okay.
We already know it's excellent. We've eaten it before.
Does look great.
It is excellent. And I'm not a quiche person either. Like we were talking about, it was just like, when we first got it from Lisa, we're like, quiche. Okay, we'll try it. This is really good, by the way, Tea and Pears, with hot sauce on it. You put your favorite hot sauce on it, it is excellent. I'll eat it both if she ain't eating it. There you go. Taste test says
No, it is great.
hot. I won't show myself eating. That's good. That's excellent. Mrs. Nut and Fancy, you got to try it too.
Just one bite.
Okay, here you go.
Well, you know.
It's hot. Survey says it's good just the way she makes it, isn't it? Would you change the recipe at all?
No.
It's excellent. Only thing I would say is just add hot sauce to it.
Hot sauce, or like we talked about, if you wanted to put, if you're at home and you could do it, put some fresh cheese on the top, let it bubble up. If you wanted, you could put it in that crust that we talked about. But again, it stands on its own.
It does.
You can eat it right there. But again, you can dress it up. You can play it down. You can do whatever you want.
Nut and Fancy likability scale,
It's so good.
10 out of 10.
Yes.
It's
Score.
a winner.
Score.
Welcome to my kitchen.
The magic of Lisa B. Thank you to Honeyville Foods for hosting the Nut and Fancy project once again. Look in the sidebar. You'll see all this stuff for sale on their website. If I can get you a deal, I will. If I can't, I won't.
Merry
End
Christmas.
of video. Merry Christmas, everybody. Great
Yay.
gift item, by the way, for anybody you love or
It
care
is.
about.